Dude, no. Dude. Not like this, man. Not like this. That's just wild. It's just wild. On the 27th of this month, we had the update that came out and it said, contenders, we've made the difficult decision to end the development of Hyper Scape and shut down the game as of April 28th. We set out to create a vertical close quarters and fast-paced shooter experience, and we are extremely grateful to our community for joining us on our journey. We'll be taking key learnings from this game into future products. The Hyper Scape community, thank you for your passion and dedication to the world of Neo Arcadia, both inside and outside the game. Your devotion to the game we built will always be cherished. Reach out to us if you have any questions. Sincerely, Hyper Scape. And that is just wild. Oh my goodness. It's pretty unbelievable because it is by far my favorite game that I've played so far that's in the FPS genre and Battle Royale genre. And something so close to me to come to the end is just, it's heartbreaking. It's sad. Like, I know a lot of people didn't play it, but it was something I really enjoyed and I really loved. My experience actually began back in June 2020. It's crazy. It's almost been 2 years. And Ubisoft actually reached out to me and asked me to play a new fast-paced battle royale that was supposedly going to compete with Apex Legends, Fortnite, and Warzone. And at the time, it seemed surreal that they would ask me to be part of the original founders of the game because I didn't even know what that meant, but they put my name on their website. And at that moment, I felt like I was on top of the world. It was insane. And Ubisoft has always been one of my favorite companies because their style and art have been so inspiring to me as an artist and gamer. And I loved Assassin's Creed games growing up. I loved the style. I loved the scenery, just how they made games in general. I just couldn't get enough of them. So for me to be approached personally by Ubisoft was unbelievable and a dream come true for me. They put us in about 5 groups of 25, and it was probably more, I don't remember too well, but I remember there was a decent amount of us, and they presented to us clips of the hacks, gameplay, and guns for the game. So seeing what this game had to offer was so insane, and the vertical gameplay seemed so fresh, and I just loved anything fast-paced and instantly knew that this was the game for me. And I know that many other streamers had the same feelings as me. Everyone thought at the moment that this was going to be the game. Like, this was the future of Battle Royale, and this is it. Like, this is the pinnacle of Battle Royale games because it was just something so new and fast. Like, usually other games, you kind of sit around, you loot for a good 20 and 25 minutes, you shoot somebody, possibly get killed, and that's the end. You do it all over again. It was just different, and it was amazing. They had us actually test the game about a week later after showing us these things on Discord, and all the streamers played against each other for the tests. There was actually huge names like Miskiff, Nick Merckx, Soda Poppin, Tfue, Cypher PK, Dyrus and Electra, Dr. Lupo, Choco Taco and Cloaksy, and Ammunition, and these were just a few of the names I played with and against and got absolutely smacked when I played against them. I remember my first couple of games, I didn't even know that you could break windows and go into buildings. So you can imagine it was a little bit difficult for me to find guns and actually get a couple kills because I didn't. We got a few days of testing the game each week until it was released and put into tech test. It's a bit of a learning curve, but once you got the hang of it, after a couple of hours, it was so captivating. You didn't ever want to leave your computer. It was just so good that I just wanted to play it nonstop. And just before the tech test was released, Ubisoft sent all the founders some presents from the game, and they included a Hyper Scape hat, Prisma Dimensions mugs, blue light glasses, a Corsair Void Pro headset, a Hyper Scape USB, and other things. And they actually sent us packages again later on. They're a little bit smaller, and it's just some more gifts, and one of them was a dev t-shirt, which was pretty cool. But during the tech tests, it seemed like there wasn't any better game than this one. Of course, later we know that the game was changed quite a bit, and balancing was a huge issue. But before that, I was one of the few lucky ones to be asked to play in the first ever Hyper Scape Twitch Rivals. And oh my goodness, man, that was so sick. It was nerve-wracking, and I'd never played in anything competitive like that. Miss Click actually asked me to be on her team along with another streamer. And I didn't know at the time who he was, but his name was Moxie, and he was really cool, and she was really cool, and we just had a lot of fun playing together. I remember being so focused on the game, but the absolute power squads that the top players assembled were just way too good. And I think we placed like 16th or something. It was just an amazing experience, and I just love remembering it because it was just so good. And later, I actually got asked to play in the second Hyper Scape Twitch Rivals, and that would be the last one, but that was by the Dan the Angler. But it was the day that I was actually moving back to college, so I couldn't game with her and her crew. So that bummed me out big time because I had a lot of fun the first time, and it would have been a privilege to play in the second one, but I just couldn't. And at the time, I was actually one of the top players in the game, and to not be able to compete with others was something that hit me pretty hard. And I remember I was working on being the #1 Skybreaker user, and I hit #2 actually at one point, but I had to step away because college was important. I've always wanted to get a degree, and it's important to me and my family, and I really want to make them proud along with me. But shortly after the game started walking instead of running, and the number of players went down from season to season, they asked me to play test the game more and run tests on new game modes. And one of those included the team deathmatch mode. And that was something that was actually pretty awesome because they actually truly cared about the game. And working with them throughout all these play tests, I think we did probably about 8 or 9 of them. It was always just about like, what could they do better? And they answered every single thing. I wanted the game to succeed so badly, and I know they did too. And a fast-paced neon cyberpunk style game was something I loved so much, and I couldn't get enough of the art and gameplay. Skins of the game were a bit on the lame side due to many of them being plain, but it was nonetheless great. I feel that the cosmetics were something they could have done better. The legendary skins seemed too dull compared to what they could have been, and just not worth the amount of money that you would spend to purchase. And the game also suffered a great amount due to the balancing issues they faced. The game was fast-paced and difficult, and to get used to that, many people would play a couple games, get rolled by experienced players, and just quit. In response to this, the devs lowered the ceiling quite a bit and buffed specialty guns that were easier to use and decreased healing cooldowns. And this eventually got out of hand and made it too easy for experienced players to get killed, so they actually started leaving on top of the new players. So kind of got this just sandwich of players leaving, and it's just a recipe for failure. And aim assist was also something hugely discussed in the community, and the devs played around with it a lot, and to get the right amount for controller players and to satisfy the mouse and keyboard players, it just never happened, and they couldn't reach a point where they agreed that that was it. And it seemed like that went back and forth every other week. It's also an unpopular opinion of mine. I know that many wouldn't agree with me, but through the process, it seemed like the devs catered a little too much to the community. I felt like those who complained the loudest were the ones listened to, and after they had even made the changes for them, those people that were complaining would just find something new to complain about, and it was just an endless circle of complaints. It wasn't fun. The game just kept changing and finding new ways to be bad, and it just felt like there was nobody happy at the end of it, and it just was unfortunate for both sides. I'm not taking sides here, but I feel that the Hyper Scape community actually played a decent role in its imminent demise, and are partially to blame as much as any other person, because it just began to be so toxic. It was toxic to the point where I just didn't even want to be a part of it anymore, and I actually ended up leaving playing other games because it wore me out a lot. Everyone you met was just always looking for the limelight. Everybody was just always on edge. I didn't get along with a lot of other streamers because the ones that were left were they're really cocky. They're always just finding new ways to piss other people off, and it just felt like a lot of people were really negative and they just wanted the game to fail. So that was pretty disappointing for me. The lead executive producer of Hyper Scape, who actually left Ubisoft a while back, his name is Graham Jennings. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. He sent several tweets out explaining things and answering questions. I had a couple of questions about Hyper Scape, and whilst I generally don't talk/post about it anymore, I'll make an exception today for obvious reasons. So this was the day that everybody heard that the game was shut down. Somebody said that it was a problem that they launched into a crowded genre and market. His answer was a couple of things. Number one, when we started working on Hyper Scape, there was no Call of Duty Warzone and no Apex. Number two, we didn't struggle to find space. We were up to 12 million players in no time, and we struggled to keep them. The initial attraction to the product was there. Someone else said launching console later damaged the product. He said we launched later because we were not able to launch all at once, and it didn't hurt us at all. Our PS4 numbers in the first few weeks were great. Again, we managed to get players in, we just couldn't keep them. And that's something pretty big, because I felt like that was the main issue. And especially with, I feel like any games these days, everybody just has a hard time keeping the players they get, and it's there's only so many eyes, There's so many players, so many eyes. He later said, had a couple more Hyper Scape questions, which I'll answer below. To be honest, I'm happy to answer stuff if people are respectful and it's not confidential information. Someone said, what didn't work as expected? And his answer was, to be honest, the Twitch extension was a big push for the product and we hope to bring something new to viewer/streamer interaction. In the end, it was okay, but I believe in retrospect, we misunderstood the interaction loop, but it was worth trying. He said, you kept losing players early. Retention was a major issue, yes, though I believe difficulty to play, it catered to a very high skill base. People struggle to get frags and satisfaction and hence left. Remember, free to play makes it free to leave easily. That's something interesting. I don't know if I agree with that, but it's something interesting. Someone said console controls are a problem, and his answer was, whilst not making excuses due to COVID in March, we all worked from home, so we all played on PC most of the time, with controllers at times for sure. Absolutely sure it caused neglect in console controls as we didn't have kits at home. And that's pretty huge. I mean, how are you gonna develop a game around controller if no one has any new information on controllers on the game? So crossplay again came up. Plain and simple, we want to minimize risk at launch and didn't have time for the work for crossplay. Also, I never believed we'd have such quick player drops, so crossplay and better retention scenario was fine to come later. Someone said marketing was a big deal, and this one comes up a lot. Like everybody that complained to me about this was they're always like, the marketing, you never got any big people to play with. That came up numerously. But we did actually have good marketing support for the alpha and beta through the streamer program. For launch, we actually had good support too. PS dashboard takeover and Xbox. Lack of being on Steam was an issue for PC visibility for sure. And that's true. I mean, at the time, what was it called? Uplay Store or whatever? Nobody uses that. I only use Steam. So for them not to use Steam, it definitely hurt them. He went on to say, once things were not going the way we wanted, we struggled to get much marketing. When we launched Team Deathmatch, there was nothing. We were making improvements, but had no visibility, so the road back was tough. Bear in mind, though marketing had put decent money in at the start, but then weren't seeing returns/success. So at some point, you have to decide how much you want to spend. And that hurt Hyper Scape in later stages for sure. The other big problem was a lot of marketing is viral and comes from friends' recommendations and seeing friends play. If players come in and don't stay and play and then they don't recommend their friends, it's a vicious circle. Also, bear in mind, free to play makes it easy to get players in, but as easy for them to leave as they haven't spent any money. Cost of acquisition is one thing. Cost of reacquisition is a whole other/impossible. This is where poor console launch hurt us. BB Raf, I had a good question and he said, hey, by servers going offline, does that include Arcadium and Training Zone? Really enjoyed being able to 1v1 a couple of friends in Arcadium and wondering if the servers going offline extended that. To be honest, as I'm not at Ubisoft, I really don't know. You'll need to ask them, but I'm going to assume off is off. So it'll be closed full stop. And that's true. Once this game is off on April 28th, it's done. Can't play the game anymore. Force Element asked, gates behind the main play portal and the hub, what was the plan or intention to create there? I think longer term, we would have put more stuff. And that's true. The plan was to put more stuff there, more modes and more things to interact with the game. Chris AF, smiley face, said, would have been possible to not have taken down the game for a few weeks between beta and launch. I feel that the game may have lost a lot of momentum from that downtime. And his reply was, we could have done, but to be honest, player retention was already starting to be an issue here. Taking it down was not what caused it, but we believed we'd fixed it in season 1. In hindsight, we were wrong. As project, I'm assuming manager. And it's actually interesting though, because Panicked actually brought up a couple of good points here. He said, I was also curious, but why did it always feel like the objective of fixing the balance issues was to bring the skill floor up and not drop the skill ceiling? Protocol shouldn't have been hit scan. Riot did too much damage. It should have been a cooldown on sliding, etc. It always felt like adding explosives or ways to get kills for new players were worked on, and not nerfing the good players that they are forced to play with. I would have considered myself one of the better players, but definitely not near the best. My onboarding experience was awful, and I suffered through weeks of getting stomped. I just happened to be one of the very few who didn't quit. Talked about this constantly, and no response. And Jennings replied, Nick, I'll kind of answer this-ish. If I could do it all again with no time/money/other constraints, I'd have bots with an extensive onboarding in all areas, skill-based matchmaking from the start, 10 players/90 bots for your first 15 to 20 games, and crossplay from the start. And I think that nails it on the head. Honestly, I've had a lot of time to think about this. A lot of people have asked me the same things, and I think this tweet right here really sums it up of what needs to happen. And I know a lot of people don't like bots, but there's just things that are just necessary these days. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it really sucks, honestly. It really does. And it's really disappointing for those of you that are similar to me, that, you know, this is the game. This is your favorite game, and it's gonna be gone forever. You know, goodbye Hyper Scape. We made some good memories. I had just a heck of a time. You know, I experienced things that, you know, not many people get to experience, and it was just a pleasure. It was a really good opportunity. So thank you, Ubisoft. Thank you for the game. Hopefully we'll see something in the future. Apparently there's a new game called Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Frontline, which is supposed to be the new BR. It's kind of been postponed indefinitely, but supposedly it's supposed to be a little bit similar to Hyper Scape's BR, and it's going to take some key elements from it. Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming to my video. Hope you had a good time. If you have any questions or comments on things I said or missed, let me know. I appreciate you. Thank you so much again for checking out the video. Till next time, stay gold. Peace out, guys.